Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a framework that's all about transforming your compensation structure. And the goal here? It's to shift you from being the main engine of your firm, the one doing all the heavy lifting, to being its primary architect, designing a system that pretty much runs itself.
So let's just start with a really crucial question for every team leader out there. I want you to take a hard look at your payroll. Are you paying for activity just for people being busy? Or are you actually investing in outcomes that make your entire business more valuable? Because believe me, the difference is everything.
I mean, you gotta love how bluntly the source material puts this. The stakes are just incredibly high. If your personal energy is the only thing driving results, you're not leading a scalable firm. You're just funding a dependency. So let's break down why this happens and, way more importantly, how to fix it. All right, first, let's diagnose a problem that is shockingly common for successful producers. It's that feeling of being trapped, not by failure, but by the very success you've worked so incredibly hard to build. It's a really strange and frustrating place to find yourself. So, on the outside, you look like the high GCI, that's gross commission income producer. You're the industry leader everyone wants to be. But inside, the reality often feels way more like a golden cage. Every single dollar of revenue, every new client, it all requires your direct manual labor. The business literally cannot function if you decide to take a week off. Now, let's put a name to the huge systemic risk this creates. The framework we're exploring calls this hidden cost the fragility tax. Think of it as this invisible fee you pay for having the wrong kind of structure. You see, paying for effort, for someone just showing up and looking busy, imposes this tax on your business. You're rewarding activity, not results. And that not only drains your profit margin, but it makes the entire operation fragile and completely dependent on you to drive all the revenue. And this just brilliantly illustrates the core danger, right? If your constant manual labor is what's required to motivate the team and to move things forward, you are not leading a platform. You've actually become the bottleneck. You are the single point of failure. So how in the world do we fix this? Well, the answer is a fundamental shift in your philosophy. You have to move away from relying on your manual labor to a model of systemic execution. So let's dive into what this more robust system actually looks like. The whole solution starts with this crystal clear philosophy. Base salary is not a reward, it's the cost of entry. It just pays for meeting the bare minimum standards, the baseline SLAs or service level agreements. The real financial upside, the bonuses and variable comp, that has to be exclusively tied to outcomes that actually grow the platform's value. So what are these outcomes we're talking about? Well, they are objective, black and white metrics. Think about things like the growth of your client database, improving your client retention rate, or the number of qualified appointments your team actually sets. These are the hard numbers that prove the firm is getting stronger, not just that your people are busy. Now, what's so cool about this slide is the implication. A truly effective compensation plan should communicate what your platform values without you ever having to say a single word. It becomes a self-managing system that automatically guides your team's focus toward what really, truly matters. Okay, so this brings us to the tactical part of the framework. We're talking a simple 3-step process to totally restructure your compensation logic and get everybody aligned with the firm's real goals. It really is a straightforward pivot. First, review your current plans. Just lay them all out and see what you're actually paying for. Second, find just one area where you're rewarding activity, like making calls. And third, you pivot. You change that trigger to a measurable outcome, like qualified appointments set. And to make this whole pivot real and tangible for your team, the framework gives you a specific tool to build this new logic. It's called the outcome-based comp matrix. And here's exactly what it looks like in practice. For an admin, okay, base pay covers the standards, database accuracy, file compliance. The bonus, though, that gets triggered by a specific platform metric, collecting a target number of past client reviews. For a junior broker, making 50 calls a day, that's the standard, that's the activity. But the bonus is triggered by setting a certain number of qualified appointments. That's the result. See the difference? This systematically shifts the focus from just being busy to creating valuable outcomes that build the business. All right, to close this whole thing out, let's adopt what the source material calls the captain's mindset. It's time to step back, look at your payroll completely objectively, and ask some really hard, honest questions.
First up is the absence test. And seriously, think about this. If you were completely unreachable for 30 days, no calls, no emails, would the financial incentives you've built be enough to drive the team forward? Or would the entire system just grind to a halt without your manual labor?
Second, the autonomy check. Does your comp plan create owners, people who are financially motivated to solve problems and execute on their own? Or does it accidentally reward them for being dependent, for just constantly waiting for you to tell them what to do next? And finally, the big one, the asset validation. Is your payroll building a real sellable asset that has systemic value? Or are you just bleeding margin on salaries that give you zero real ROI, essentially subsidizing that adult daycare with your own hard-earned GCI? And at the end of the day, this is the key takeaway. Align the incentives, pay for outcomes, and protect the platform. Because what you choose to reward financially is going to determine the entire future of your business. So the final question for you is, are you building a fragile practice that depends on you, or a durable platform that can actually outlast you?